Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Siqueiros. I am the CEO of the LA Local News Initiative, which powers the Boyle Heights Beat. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the California Endowment, where I have the honor of serving as a board member. They are hosting this live stream today, and I'm thrilled that they are because they are committed to the health of all Californians. Tonight, we're also joined by our co-host from LA Taco, LA Public Press, Galo, and the Latino Media Collaborative, partners and local media champions that give voice to our communities, share news, facts, and information that's relevant to our daily lives. For 15 years, the Boyle Heights Beat has been a trusted bilingual news source in our community, serving Boyle Heights and East LA. Our newsroom is powered by both student journalists and professional reporters and editors that are from the community, of the community, and focused on serving the community. They work together to provide essential information that our neighbors need to navigate their lives. And during moments of crisis, like the recent federal immigration operations across Los Angeles, the Beat has really become a vital lifeline for families building community power through information and trust. Boyle Heights Beat is part of the LA Local News Initiative, and we're incredibly proud to expand the community-centered model that they have developed over the course of 15 years as we build local community-centered newsrooms in Koreatown, Pico Union, Westlake, South LA, and Inglewood, and as we provide general regional news and information that is relevant to all Angelenos. Thank you for joining us tonight. Before I introduce our incredible senior local editor of the Boyle Heights Beat and our panelists and invite them up, I'd like to invite Tata G to do a land acknowledgement for us.
Good evening. Buenas tardes. Quiero invitar a mi hija Verónica que venga para que podamos hacer el land acknowledgement todos juntos. Why is so important to do the land acknowledgement? A lot of times when you do events, gatherings, you need to be aware in which land you are. So part of this, we normally do when different other things, but they give me only 2 minutes. So let's go do it. Face the east. Face the west. Face the south. Face the north. Face the stars. Get together and face Pachamama. And for the center, that's your ombligo. We are people from different nations coming together into acknowledge our local people from this land, where are the Tomba Gabrielino, the Kish Nation, the Tatavian, the Ahashamen, and the Chumas people. When all the honors, we ask you to give us permission so that way we can continue this meeting where we can have this beautiful gathering together. We acknowledge the spirit of your ancestors, the spirit from these communities, so that way they can guide us in this beautiful journey that we are making today. Aho!
Thank you, Tata G. At the LA Local News Initiative and Boyle Heights Beat, our most important job is to listen to the community and to respond directly to the community's needs. This event is a result of that listening. We are hosting it because the community asked for more mental health and wellness resources. There's no one who embodies that spirit of listening and meeting the moment than the person leading our conversation tonight. And that is Jessica Perez, our senior local editor for the Boyle Heights Beat. Jessica is a decorated journalist. She previously served as a community editor for the LA Times. She has deep roots in our community of Boyle Heights and an unwavering commitment to community-centered reporting. Her leadership continues to be instrumental in guiding our newsroom's essential coverage, especially as federal actions happened across our region. As a trusted storyteller who is of, from, and for the community, I'm so excited that she's here to guide this conversation. So join me in welcoming Jessica Perez.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you to everyone joining us here in person and everyone online. Just remember you have until 6:25 p.m. to submit questions in the chat, or for you in person here, you can submit them as well. So as Michelle said, we put this event together because we really were listening to our community, and what they told us was powerful. We surveyed hundreds of neighborhood residents, and 50% of them told us that the ICE raids were impacting their mental health and their well-being. And about a third of them told us that the resource they needed the most was mental health support. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on our panelists today. Please join me. Thank you, three, for joining us. I'm going to start by introducing, to my left here is Adriana Alejandre. Adriana is a licensed trauma therapist, and she's the founder of Latinx Therapy, which is the directory of Latinx therapists dedicated to destigmatizing mental health in communities of color. Next, we have Guillermo Hernandez, also known as Tata G. Tata G is a Purepecha elder and founder of Xangari Institute, a healing space rooted in ancestral and indigenous knowledge. And last but not least, we have Doctora Yanira Hernandez. She is a first-generation licensed clinical social worker and founder of Palante Therapy. She specializes in supporting undocumented individuals, mixed-status families, and first-generation professionals. Thank you all for joining us again. So I want to get started. For us as journalists, we have been on the ground. We've been hearing stories from people who are directly affected by the immigration enforcement in Los Angeles specifically. But you all have a much deeper, a much intimate view of what's going on. Can you tell us what you've been hearing, what you've been seeing from your patients and the people that you're working with? Alejandra?
It's on. Is it on?
I think so.
Okay, thank you. So it's just been so exhausting and overwhelming, overstimulating what we've been seeing in different ways. And it seems like there has been different phases as well of the energy and the stimulation overall. And we're all in Los Angeles. We are just kind of trying to continue to recover from the wildfires as well. So it's just been one thing after another. And within that, I've been seeing that exhaustion in the clients that I see, in the community members, the rapid responders that we are helping out as well. So fatigue, confusion, disbelief, shock, fear. What we initially saw was that panic, esa desesperación of people just like, whoa, like what is happening? Is this real? And then that sinking in and everybody's mental health concerns was just kind of took a path, whether that was anxiety, depression, PTSD, once that realization hit in that, yes, these ice raids are real and they're impacting us now and will have a forever impact on us. Personally, I was impacted by, I out of nowhere, I was experiencing nightmares because of these ice raids. I say out of nowhere because I didn't expect to be impacted in that way. I was re-experiencing my grief from the loss of my mom, who passed away undocumented. And it was just, I was experiencing it with my community. And so, yes, you're right that that word, experiencing it on a deep level is accurate for all of us, I think, here.
La misma pregunta, pero la hacemos en español. Miren, algo que pasa es susto. Algo que nuestros antepasados trabajaban muy bonito, esos traumas multigenerational que teníamos, el susto. Y parte de eso, hace ratito me estaban entrevistando y me preguntaron que cómo me sentía. Yo me sentí cuando venía con precaución. Yo. ¿Y por qué les digo esto? He participado en los marchas que hemos tenido, he hecho ceremonias, he hecho todo, pero ahora no vengo agresivo, vengo con preocupación. Vengo viendo qué está pasando. Vengo viendo cómo podemos colaborar y les agradezco a las personas que se pusieron en contacto con nosotros para que fuéramos parte de esto. Tenemos algo que ustedes tienen escondido en algún lugar, pero hay que comenzarlo a sacar. Esa parte que tenemos es intuición. Todos la tenemos. Y eso es algo que a los hombres nos cuesta trabajo sacarlo. Imagínense si ustedes, las señoras, están con esos nervios, ¿cómo creen que estamos nosotros? Pero vienen ciertas cosas. Me preguntaron y que me quedaron viendo, oiga, señor, ¿y usted por qué no trae zapatos? Viene una conferencia y calcetines y todo esto. Es que les quiero decir, mi hija me hizo appointment ahora en la mañana para que me dieran pedicure. ¿Y por qué les digo esto? Porque cada vez que usted tiene una conversación con alguien, que sea, tenemos que tener humor. Yo ya vengo listo para correr. Y muchos de ustedes les da risa. ¿Por qué razón? Porque ya hay conexión. Y eso es lo que necesitamos que crear, un lugar, un espacio donde nos sentamos todos confortables. How's my timekeeper doing, señorita? No ha levantado el telón. I guess I am doing okay. Vamos a estar aquí compartiendo. Siéntanse en confianza. Feel not like you need to run, like you need to do something right now. No. Disconnect to connect.
Thank you for reminding us, Tataji. Yanira?
Yeah, I think very similarly to what Adriana and Tataji mentioned, I think in addition to the fear, the anxiety, the depression, I think one of the things that I'm seeing is a lot of hypervigilance, those kind of PTSD like symptoms. And hypervigilance has been very prominent right now. And even for myself too, I see a white van and I notice my body automatically freezes, and I think now for many of us, especially our parents, our families, our ancestors who have perhaps experience violence in their homelands, right? They're noticing that re-traumatization happening again. When we see our communities, our panaderia, our marqueta being militarized, how can we not feel that? How can we not take that in? So I think hypervigilance has been one of the things that has shown up the most. I primarily work with first-gen individuals, children of immigrants, some that are DACA recipients, undocumented, and mixed status families. And I think that all those intersecting identities, it shows up that, again, that fear of something happening, but I've been here before, my body can sense it, and very similarly to what Adriana shared, something personally too, I am part of a mixed status family. So not only am I trying to show up for my community, trying to show up for my clients, but also for my own family, and so I do think that this impacted us, all of us, very deeply in so many fronts, whether we are mental health providers, we are educators, we're teachers, we are caregivers of some sort. I think it's impacting us. Lo sentimos, el cuerpo lo siente.
Yes, thank you for that. And it's a good reminder. Yes. That is a good reminder. You talked about phases. You talked about different emotions, and I can imagine that at the beginning of when the ice rates were intensifying in June, a lot of the feelings might have been shock and fear. But how has that experience changed over time? How has perhaps even the scale of it from just the experiences that you've had with people on the ground, how widespread is it? I mean, Adriana, I know that you work with a network of therapists. Are there any sort of emerging trends you're hearing?
Yeah, so I'm going to share from the experience of running support groups for undocumented Spanish speakers between the ages of 40 to 55-year-olds. We started these groups in February when the ICE raid started, and the first cohort ended in May. And, there was a lot of panic. And I think by like the second or the third session, so many of them reported feeling better regardless of what was happening in society and in the news. One of the major coping strategies that helped folks was disconnecting from the news, so creating the boundaries that they needed in order to focus on what it was that they were feeling and how to prepare in case a raid does happen near them, or in their home. And then I started doing groups with folks across the nation. So these were more educational and vocalizing your rights, because as somebody that grew up in a household also where, we were told, calladita te ves más bonita, just be quiet, respect the authority. I'm very, very familiar with the freeze response and also with being passive. And so and as a therapist, I work with a lot of those people. I specialize with folks that, tend to freeze and maybe just do whatever they're being told. And in this case, with this administration, we can't do that. People need to know what their nervous system is going to be like, respond like when, an ICE agent or a bounty hunter is demanding to see their matricula, is demanding to know more information out of them, is demanding for them to open their door. And so I worked with a lot of different folks across the nation, working with their nervous system and just kind of, if you will, desensitizing them, saying their rights and practicing coping strategies to help them throughout. And so with that, people felt empowered. And at the end, people were like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And I'm going to be satisfied with knowing that I did my very best and that I know my rights, and I can say them out loud. And in speaking to people on the ground too, paleteros, many of us were out there supporting them in different ways when they were out there. That was kind of the same sentiment that folks are telling me, is that like, pues ya que, like we have to work, we have to survive. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So this sort of like resignation type of energy is something that I've been hearing about more recently in various different contexts.
Yeah, that resignation, I can imagine, of just so much happening over and over again. I don't know if anybody wanted to add to that. Any sort of things we're learning and emerging from your experiences?
Something that I've also seen is kind of from their resignation and kind of also this sense of community, the power of community, and also communities can look very differently for all of us, and we can have multiple communities. But I think this sense of community and leaning on each other is something that has been so powerful to see, de verdad, because many of us who perhaps before felt had more difficulty reaching out to other people now perhaps can share. It's like, tengo miedo. Yo también tengo miedo. Is that alone, that connection, como dijo Tata G, that connection alone created community. And guess what? Now we're talking about it. So I think that that's one of the things that I've seen in not only with the individuals that I support, but also in even my own family and in other communities and spaces that I'm in, is just being more welcome to have these conversations because it's needed, es de necesidad también, but I think it's community has been very beautiful to see and how the rainbow of communities can look like, right? So we're having a community right here. So that alone, I think it's wonderful that to see the manifestation of that.
Yes, and to add to that, and Tata G, I welcome your answer on this. We do know that in communities of color, speaking, the stigma around mental health still runs very deep. So tell me a little bit about that. I know that different attitudes can often, differ among generations. Tata G, you work with your daughter. You draw from ancestral indigenous knowledge. What are you seeing, and how are people showing up for each other, with whether it's children to their parents, and how those attitudes sort of differ? Have things changed?
Everybody, todos tienen miedo. Cada vez que voy a hacer un círculo, get together, y todos se quedan como diciendo, y ahora, Tatayi, ¿qué nos va a hacer o qué nos va a decir? Algo que me gusta compartir y trabajar, tanto la parte indígena tradicional, con costumbres, tradiciones, ceremonias y todo esto, pero también hay que meter la otra parte, la parte psicológica, la parte del desarrollo del cerebro. Tengo la fortuna de trabajar con Dr. Sigo a UCLA y trabajamos y desarrollamos cómo lidiar con los sustos. Y algo muy sencillo que trabajamos es cómo reaccionas a ciertos movimientos. Y nada más les quiero poner un ejemplo. ¿Se fijaron? No está reaccionando. ¿Qué está pasando con su limbic system? ¿Qué está pasando con el cerebro? Se supone que el limbic system es el que te previene de ciertos incidentes para que tu cuerpo no se ponga más a la defensiva. Parte de lo que yo hago cuando llego, parte del icebreaker que hago con el grupo de familias, llego y me llevo naranjas, las pongo aquí y de repente se las comienzo a aventar a las gentes para que ellos se den cuenta cómo está su sistema límbico trabajando. ¿Por qué voy y hago esto? Porque es bonito, mi hija y yo tenemos una oficina en Pasadena, invitamos gente que venga, pero la atracción es familias quieren que tú llegues a su hogar, que llegues a su lugar. Sí, vamos, yo voy a ir, el que ando más de metiche con estas familias, nada más les digo, prepárenme un buen cafecito y un pan dulce, ahí está Tatayi. Y nos las pasamos divirtiéndonos, haciendo ciertos ejercicios de manera que se nos vaya quitando ese miedo. Hacemos y trabajamos, ahí está mi caja de medicina. Yo la llevo y me dicen, ¿y usted qué onda, Tatallí? Pues ya les explico qué es en esa caja de medicina. Pero eso es parte, cómo llegar y sentirse donde ustedes están.
Y Tata G, and I'm speaking English because we're translating this into Spanish as well. Tell us a little bit, you just described what you do, how you have healing circles, and how families come together. Can you talk a little bit about that, the generational differences? Are children and their parents or grandparents coming together? And how does that work? What are you seeing in those attitudes?
Ah, Al principio, every time when you come together, when the families, there's a big, huge difference in age. Some of us, los viejitos, llegan y dicen, ¿saben qué? Eso era cuando tú estabas allá en tu rancho, grandpa. Pero ¿cómo se lo transformamos a la realidad? So parte de este proceso es poner y tener orden. One thing that we are missing in our society, that we are beautiful group of people from different nations, but we don't have order when ourselves. For you to find your order, you need to understand when you was born, en qué día naciste, why. It's really important to know if you was born in the spring, in the summer, in the fall, or in the winter. So we line up everybody according to the circle of life. And from that, we put and we pass a talking stick. We pass an opportunity for that person to speak and to share what's going on with you. And we go around, but we don't make recommendation, we don't ask, well, guess what, señora, pues yo también estaba como usted toda jodida y todo esto. No, todo dejamos que acabe, que nos digan, and up to that, we get together, we summarize, and we move into the next level. We use certain herbs, we use certain ceremonies to work together so that way through medicine, you can start softening your nerve system.
Thank you for that. That's a beautiful description. And the practices are different, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. I did want to ask a little bit more about how we identify if we ourselves are going through something. We know that it's not just people who have been directly affected by ICE raids or this fear. It's also people who are watching these events unfold on social media. It's also educators who are supporting their kids at schools, first responders, people who are on the ground in these rapid response networks and witnessing this. So tell us a little bit, how can people identify what is going on? Is it actually a mental health issue, or what is it that I'm feeling? Is it something that you feel in your body? Adriana?
I was like, go ahead, doctora." No, all good. So I think I'll try to, I was looking at her because we're like, how are we going to split the answer? Like, because we specialize in similar things. But so yes, it's in the body, it's the mind, it's how your spirit feels. Like it's an impact on everything that defines you. And so in speaking, so when I was setting up the groups for the rapid responders, I was doing, even though I wasn't the facilitator for the groups, I'm the organizer and the one that was doing the screeners for that. And one of the questions was, how are the ICE raids impacting you? So that we could see, is it okay for them to be in a group setting, or maybe do they require more individual type of work? But with this, most of them were definitely needing that community care aspect in their healing journeys. And yeah, they were like, I'm experiencing nightmares. I'm noticing an increase in of drinking, an increase of irritability. I'm less patient with those I love. I'm snappier with people at work, and I'm not usually like this. I am not sleeping well. My appetite has changed. I feel guilty. So this sense of like survivor's guilt. Someone mentioned because when their volunteer shift ended at a Home Depot and they went home, a few minutes, literally 2 minutes afterwards, they did not see that the agents came and did one of the biggest raids. And so they felt immense guilt over that. Um, so yeah, when it comes to your mental health declining, you're gonna notice a shift in what was balanced for you before. And we can't compare, what balance looks like for you in your life than what it looks like for me, for Tata G, for Doctora Yanira. It's really gonna require a little bit of that self-awareness. And sometimes a lot of people, especially those that grew up in stigmatized households, don't realize it until they're kind of close to a rock bottom moment when relationships are starting to have problems, when you are so irritable, when you're in the midst of all of these symptoms that just feel ugly inside. And I think we've all been there. We feel that irritability in the tummy as well. So in general, those are very much in general, some indicators.
And I'm sure that a lot of us want to feel like we relate to each other. Some of these feelings are, it's okay to feel even angry, maybe?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. It's
Yeah.
normal. It's normal, it's necessary, but there's also a limit, right? Everything's on a spectrum. There's a healthy side to it, and then there's also an unhealthy side to things. And you will likely know when you're getting to that unhealthy side or when you're already in that unhealthy side. Yeah. So
Thank you for explaining that, Adriana. And I think just to add a little bit to that too, it's like, she mentioned kind of also having that self-awareness. And that also means just understanding what is your body cueing you. Personally, I know that I'm not okay when I begin to have a lot of like sensations in my arms, and it's signaling that I'm anxious or something is going on, right? And then my back, me quejo que me duele la espalda, but I think in reality, it's everything that I'm carrying and I'm not releasing. I have headaches, right? Tummy aches. And so I'm noticing all these changes in my body. That is our body cueing us. Something is off. So just really paying attention to those signals that our body are cueing you. And we are the experts of our own body. And sometimes we don't know exactly what we feel, like the emotion, but we just know that something is off, right? So even as something as gentle as recognizing that, you know what, I am not my true self. And I think when we begin to see those signs that something is off with us, I think we begin to have that awareness that, oh, I'm noticing that I am being more irritable, or I'm noticing that I am isolating more, or I'm noticing that I'm just kind of going and not checking in on myself. Personally, that's what I was doing. I'm accustomed to supporting and supporting and supporting. And I was sharing earlier that it was not until I noticed I was becoming irritable and snappy with people close to me. And I'm like, oh, we got to check that, and again, I was ignoring those cues my body was sending me. And yet, sure enough, I'm like, Ama, I need to go to la sobadora because something is off, and I think just noticing that our body is a huge indicator and it's speaking to us. So just being able to lean into what is it saying, and being able to use that as a way of checking in.
And what about kids? Does it show up differently for kids? Are there other sort of signals that differ from maybe adults or elders?
Yeah, for kids, it'll definitely show up. And I think it's especially with the little ones, I think they may not necessarily have the language. They won't say, Ama, I feel anxious, right? But maybe they will say, I have a tummy ache, I don't want to eat. or maybe they want to be more attached or more clingy with their parents, right? Because of that fear of, will my mom or dad or my caregiver, will they come back, right? Maybe they're having nightmares or difficulty sleeping. Maybe they're wetting the bed. Maybe they achieved certain developmental milestones already and now they're regressing, So I think paying attention to those, especially with the little ones, perhaps with the adolescents, we can also see that one of the things that I've seen is that they're taking more on a caregiving role, so maybe they're helping out more. And of course, we want them to help, but now it's turning into almost parentification where they're stepping in for their parents due to safety reasons, and so I think just noticing, are they overly anxious about, or maybe questioning a lot about what's happening, that now they're internalizing their parents' fears, they're internalizing all those responsibilities, especially financial responsibilities, right? I have to go to work because mi mamá y mi papá can't, so I think noticing in terms of behavior, and also don't be surprised if they begin to act up more. Maybe they're being more irritable, they're getting more snappy, talking back, and again, maybe they don't have the language to express how they're feeling, but they're letting us know that something is off too.
Can I say something really
Yeah.
quick? Just to quickly add to that. I have a teenager. He's 15 years old. So I feel like I've seen a spectrum as a parent with niece and nephews, my son, and also as a therapist. And I think silence in our children is a key indicator, and it's very dangerous and normalized in a lot of our households and communities. Again, especially where we stigmatize not just mental health and therapy, but emotions, expression of emotions. Like you mentioned, anger. Anger is not allowed in a lot of our households. It's seen as the child being rebellious or, just disobedient. And anger is a messenger of something that maybe the system, the family dynamic, there's something unbalanced, right? Maybe it's systemic oppression that, is creating this feeling. Maybe it's intergenerational, but we need to make space to normalize mental health in our families, especially in children. If they're quiet, if you don't think that they're listening to your conversations, always assume that they are. If you don't think that they know that of how you're feeling, assume that they can feel your energy, regardless if you're trying to hide it or not. From a child that grew up in a household like that, now I'm very well attuned to people's energies because of it. So I would like to invite everybody to just normalize asking your children, how are you today? How are you coping with your stress? Even if they're little, let's normalize that language. Little kids can get stressed out as young as infants, to believe it or not.
Well, on the topic of stay on the topic of kids, because I really want to know, what can parents sort of, what message is the best when talking to kids about what's happening? Is there some sort of big takeaway or message that you want to leave them with? It's a tough thing, and then everybody's affected in different ways. Some kids are having to go work in place of their parents, but is there something that, that we should sort of remind parents?
I, I want to add into this. You need to change your environment. You are in the house, you are watching TV, you are with electronics, you are everything. Your kids, they are doing the same thing that you are doing, and you are not paying attention to those kids. So you need to change your environment. You need to let them know, guess what, guys? Let's go get together. We are going to get ice cream. So you change the environment, you go, you find a good place with a good ice cream, and I can tell you a few of those locations. So that way, you get up there, you get, hey, mijo, ¿cuál es tu nieve que te gusta? Oh, I want to try this one. Okay, no problem. Start talking. What do you guys think? Well, I feel this way, I feel the other way. 2 Mondays ago, right here, when an AWAC soccer league, Raul invited me to get together with a group of fathers, grandkids, family, together in a circle. And we open it up, nice conversation, and I start asking the coach, how's your team doing now that you are playing soccer and you are going all over the place? He said, Tata Guillermo, I don't know what's going on with my players, but for whatever reason, they are not competing the same way. And it was two guys right there, and I said, what's going on, mijo? You know, Tata Guillermo, my friend in the school, his parents, they are deported. And I am worried how I wanna be supporting my friend. So we lowered that part. And I did it, a beautiful exercise with them. And I say, hey, you guys are warriors. We are warriors. Somos guerreros. Every single individual who are right here, you are warrior because you are coming from a beautiful family who was real guerreros. Pero we are switching everything because we are in America. And part of this, you need to reconnect to the wisdom that you carry inside of you. So please, make time for you before you go over there and spill the beans when other people in your family. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you, yes. You mentioned joy and talking to kids, having these conversations. You mentioned notice the silence. You mentioned notice the crabbiness maybe, or behaviors that are not normal. These are all things that parents should watch out for. I have one more question before we turn to questions from our audience. You know, in our survey, we found that people were also concerned about food, about rent, about the everyday struggles that they need to just, you know, they need to get food on the table. So it's that impact as well. What do you say to folks who are like, I don't have time to worry about mental health. I have too much else to worry about.
It's true. You know, I think that in working with various natural disaster and man-made disaster survivors, that's something so common, and that's why we have psychological first aid, in which we are focusing on the resources that the family or the individual needs, because it's very difficult to process emotions if you're worried that your little ones are going to get taken away, if you're worried that you're not bringing in enough money to make rent or to, you know, get food on the table. Very, big necessities. So I think when it comes to that, validate, that's valid, that is true. It's difficult. And mental health is, it depends how they're defining it. The way I define it, like a balanced mental health, it has different components. It's your physical health, it's your mental health, like the psychological aspect, it's your it's your health when it comes to medical reasons, your spiritual health, it's your social health as well, how you're connecting with others. And we felt that during the pandemic, right? That suffered a lot. So I think that, you know, what part of their mental health can they focus on? What do you have capacity to focus on to help that element? So, you know, maybe we have to break mental health down a little bit more. It's possible, but we have to also go at the person's pace.
And there are resources, right? And we'll put them up later as well that people can access that may be low cost or free resources. I don't know if you had something to add, Dr.
Yeah, I
Yanira.
just wanted to add that I think that I've heard that statement before. No tengo tiempo para la terapia, para la salud mental, right? It's a statement that I've heard very much in our Spanish-speaking communities. And I think it's, you know, like Adriana mentioned, it's valid, right? And acknowledging that it comes from a place of survival. You know, for many of our communities, our immigrant communities, our marginalized communities that have been historically disenfranchised, it makes sense that, you know, that is what they're mentioning, that it's coming from a place of survival. And at the same time, also mental health doesn't always have to be one-on-one therapy, right? And one of the greatest things that we can do for mental health is, again, we've been establishing this community, right? Even it's a one-on-one, even if it's 2 minutes, ¿cómo estás? and that is also checking in on mental health. Oftentimes we think about mental health in terms of kind of therapeutic spaces, but it doesn't have to be like that right away. That is absolutely one way that we can ultimately work towards too, right? But I think acknowledging that even just conversations can be healing, right? And so just I really wanted to note that because when we are not taking care of ourselves, it's going to be a lot harder to take care of others. So noticing is kind of what Adriana mentioned. What aspect of our mental health do we need to lean on a little bit more right now? Because that's going to help us take care of ourselves before we can go in and take care of our families, our children, our comunidades. So being able to just also kind of check in, what is it that I currently need the most right now?
That's a great sort of segue to our first question from our audience. Tata G, you've talked about working in circles, in group settings. You just mentioned a little bit about, again, connecting with community. This question asks, can you speak about loneliness of having friends, coworkers, and other community members that can relate to our experience or understand the heavy emotions that are coming up at this moment? I don't know who wants to take that.
Real simple. We are disconnected from ourselves. We are afraid to talk to this lady. We are afraid to talk to this lady. We are afraid to talk to people who look different in my color. Because there are things happen. So part of the stuff, long time ago, your ancestors and my ancestors, we used to have gatherings before you go to work and when you come into work. I remember my abuelita me decía, mijo, ¿ya te vas a trabajar o ya te vas a la escuela? Ándale, que Dios te bendiga. ¿Daba la mano? I don't know. We need to have the something so that way, I don't know if she washed his hands or no. Hey, who cares? We are looking for that part to help us connect. So part of this work that we need to do, how can we come up from whatever horse you are riding and you ground yourself? Get up from the horse. I told families, guess what? You are riding in a Trojan horse, big horse. You need to come up porque si no, cuando te caigas, te va a doler mucho. So part of this work that we need to do, how can we find ways for us to connect so that way we can appreciate the beautiful medicine that we carry? How can we bring together professionals, paraprofessionals, indigenous people? How can we bring together these people who they are deported? The relatives, for them to come together. So, but that's something that we want to do. I'm willing to invest my time and create something different for us to get together so that way we don't carry too much pain. Oh,
Thank you for that. I don't know if anybody has. Yes. No sale. I have this next question that I think a lot of people are asking about. This person here says, I don't want to center the non-immigrant experience, but I have clients who feel lost as to how to support their friends and neighbors. So we have heard that as well from people. How do they support their friends and neighbors? What do you suggest?
How do non-immigrants support their friends and neighbors? Well, I think that can be, my brain is probably overthinking it because I'm like, what are their identities? But it doesn't really matter. No, I think what Tata G mentioned is that connection ultimately is important. I tend to teach folks to be comfortable with expressing how you'd like to be supported. So when you are listening to someone, you know, some people go into advice giving, problem solving, right? And that's the way maybe you like to be supported, or that's maybe what makes you comfortable with that. But I really like to invite people to just say, you know, I hear you and I want to know, how can I support you best right now throughout this? Um, do you need an ear? Do you need resources or problem solving? And that way, I think that it allows for that connection to be a little bit more intentional, versus maybe one-sided. And then if you are about to share, you know, open up with someone to also share, you know, I really just need you to hear me out here. No guidance, no lectures, no problem solving. Just hear me out. And I think that those disclaimers have gone a long way for a lot of us. It doesn't feel natural. It feels a little bit, you know, different, but different can be good in some cases. So I think, what are the privileges that you as a non-immigrant during this time have that you can use to help? So when you're seeing ICE raids, for example, are you feeling safe enough, comfortable enough to go out there and use some of those privileges to protect the immigrant community? When it comes to supporting your immigrant friends, I think flat out ask, like, is there anything I can do to support you? Is there anything that I can do to help during this time that you would like more amplified? You know, and for everyone that's going to look different. So I think for now, that's my answer.
Thank you.
No, I just really wanted to reiterate what Adriana mentioned. I think also for those who may hold a privileged identity, to just really ask yourself, like, okay, how can I leverage this privilege identity and be a support of the community, right? And it could be that maybe you are willing to directly, if it's happening in vivo, and experience an ICE raids where you feel empowered to stand up to a bounty hunter or an ICE agent. Or it could also just be just even acknowledging that what Adriana said is like, how can I support you right now? What do you need right now? And sometimes it is doing a market run, you know, as easy as this. Sometimes it is like, go with me on a walk because I don't feel safe going by myself. So I think it's just really, one is really checking in on our own privileges and really seeing ways that we can leverage those privileged identities and use them to support the immigrant community.
Yeah, Tata G, did you want to add anything?
For me, it's action. I am tired to be sitting. My heart, my blood say, hey, you are too much sitting, but I follow the protocol. A lot of my work is interacting with everybody up there. That's my work. And that's something that is missing in our gatherings, interaction. So beautiful that you get together and you say hi to everybody. How are you? Good to see you. Sometimes we are afraid to shake hands. One thing that I want to tell you, when you learn to take your fears away, now you are in a different level. When you learn to take away your fears, most of us, we got fears for everything. But when you put those away, now we can talk business. So when you put your fears away to come down and say hi to me, now we can sit down and we can talk business, right?
And we're talking about community, we're talking about connection still. It sounds like that's a recurring theme. Earlier, you also mentioned, Tataji, that it was harder for men in your experience. So this question here asks, where can men and young men go to connect with each other to build community?
30 years ago, or little more than 30 years ago, we developed the National Compadres Network Through the National Compadres Network, we provide trainings, educational around the globe. And the whole idea of the National Compadres Network is to develop circles when men can come together. Every month, we have a circle in East LA. Every month, we have a circle in Compton. Every month, we have a circle in San Fernando. So we have circles all over the place. If you wanna get more information, we can talk more about it because we have circles. Well, that one is cool. Okay, let's go work together when people from this building, and let's go ask them if we can borrow the outside or right here to have a family circle. We don't have to bring everybody together. We don't have to have women, men, children, youth, and everything. No, when you bring the whole family, now you bring the balance. There's a word into the En La Cage community called En La Cage. You are me, and you are my other me. So that means that every time that you come together, you need to have male and female energies to run the meeting. Look at, I got 3 beautiful females, and I need some help. Only few men, they are right here. Look at how many ladies they are right here compared to the men. So we need to have that balance. So that way we can create harmony with ourselves. So when you cross those lines of fear, that's when you start understanding how to create harmony and balance with yourself.
On the topic of resources and where to access that, this person is asking how and where can families who are scared to receive mental health resources go? We talked a little bit on it, but is there, even for families with kids, is the school district offering resources? Is our community centers, our churches? What else and where else can people sort of turn to?
Yeah, I think that's always, such a timely question, regardless of what's going on. So yes, schools will have some funding. Every school is going to look different, but it's important to always ask, regardless of your documentation status. Ask regardless. Community centers, there are different programs in different cities as well. Some grants offer for virtual. And side note, you cannot see a therapist that is offering virtual services unless they're licensed in the state that you live in. So there's a lot of people that think, like, oh, this New York therapist, she's Latina, she's Dominican like me. I'm, doing a role play here. And she's doing virtual therapy. I want to see her. I identify with her. I really want to see her. Well, if you live in California and they're not licensed in California, you cannot have services across state lines, unfortunately. So I think it's important to stick within your state, find out which counseling centers are available. Right now, Latinx Therapy is offering a list of free therapy services for families directly impacted by ICE raids. And so that's in Spanish, terapiaparalatinos.com, in English, latinxtherapy.com. There is on the homepage a blue button that says free therapy for families impacted by ICE raids. And I'll also say, use your insurance. Your insurance most likely has mental health, behavioral services covered, and ask them for a list of Spanish-speaking, Latino, Hispanic, get whatever, filters you can type of therapist. If it's for your child therapist, ask all the questions, interview therapist. It's whether you're doing out-of-pocket insurance or, using a free voucher program, I think that you still have the right to do consultation and interview the therapist for the right fit.
Yeah. Dr. Yanira?
Yeah, just to add to that, as a former school social worker, I'm very advocate for our school mental health services. So I do kind of encourage a lot of our parents, a lot of our families to ask an educator in their schools, whether it's their teachers, a counselor, a school social worker, for support. You know, those services, if especially if the child has Medi-Cal, those are covered through Medi-Cal, you know, and they're able to receive services, but definitely ask, you know, and if for whatever reason they don't qualify for services, they will be connected to other support systems to receive therapy. So it's very, I just kind of wanted to put that out there. And also Adriana mentioned about calling insurance. So for those folks who are undocumented and may not have insurance but have Medi-Cal, the Latinx Therapy Directory has been amazing in terms of connecting a lot of our undocumented gente with therapists, and you know, including my family have used it. You know, so I do think that it's a very valuable resource. So I'm going to uplift the Latinx Therapy because one of the filters you just put kind of that you just received Medi-Cal, and there are therapists who are either Spanish speakers, bilingual, who may, you know, have a Latino background, and can support, you know, if that is a need. Because I understand that sometimes, you know, access to mental health services can also depend or not be so accessible if we don't have insurance. So my 2 cents there.
Yeah.
Agree, but I disagree. And why? This, in the county of Los Angeles, we have native communities from Mexico and Central America where they speak the traditional language, either Nahua, Purépecha, Otomí, whatever language. And that group of people, the only way they can get some of those services is if they find somebody else who be trilingual. And we don't have too many therapists who they are doing that part. Always you need to have somebody else in the middle, and normally is one of the children of the family. So part of the thing is some of these families, they don't know how to work the internet. They don't know how to work the redes sociales. And always they are asking, okay, mija, ayúdame, because I don't know how to do it this one. Oh, está grandote ese cuestionario. ¿Quieren que a qué horas voy al baño? ¿Y para qué voy al baño? And están locos. So olvídate, I don't want that stuff. Find me somebody else when I can relate. So thank you for the blessings, because that's part of the work that we do. We get together with some of those traditional families who normally they are not into this level, and we give you the right tools for them to start understanding how they can go about it. Where can we get in touch with somebody so that way that person can help move it into the right direction? So that's something that we need to work about it and collaborate and work together with the professional people. Yeah, we have these needs. Part of the things, and I am sharing real good, where are you guys going to recharge? Where these beautiful therapists, people right here, they go to recharge. I have 5 minutes to end the whole conversation.
That was my next question, actually. I wanted to know about that. You all talked about your experiences, either being in a mixed status family, coming from immigrant families. What do you do to sort of feed yourself and your souls? You know, we talk about also needing joy or needing what, you know, can you describe what you all turn to?
I can start. I want to thank Tata G because you reminded me something that is very dear to me. And that is also accessing healing traditional ancestral spaces. Before, as you know, growing up in a mixed status family, we didn't you see the doctor often. So we just went to our local curandera or a shaman or a spiritual healer. And I continue to do that. And that's something that gives me very balance. when perhaps I not only have my own therapy, but also understand that that is my connection to my ancestral energy, and that grounds me. It truly does ground me. So that is something that I do often, and I feel connected, you know. And in addition to that, I know we've spoken a lot about community. So community is probably the number one thing on the list for me right now. And accessing multiple communities is just not colegas and colleagues. You know, sometimes that's needed. It's also sometimes it's like with my amigas, you know, and sometimes it's with family, and sometimes even with strangers, you know, just hitting it off on a conversation. And I didn't realize, like, oh, I really needed that, you know. And so I think community has been a big thing for me, in person and virtual, you know, because sometimes no se puede in person, you know, or it doesn't feel so safe to do so in person. And lastly, looking for moments of okayness. Sometimes sometimes we can feel mixed emotions, feeling joy, especially in the midst of all of this. So for me, it has been moments where I just feel okay and being okay with that, you know? So yeah, those are kind of my three things.
I love it. I love it. Adriana?
So there's a couple things, and it changes per season. So right now, for me, advocacy, activism is so healing. I have the capacity for it, so I like jumping in. That kind of stuff heals me. It feels like it heals like the anger that I have as well that's building up. But you know, I have to create space for balance, because then I'll burn out, and then I'll be cranky with people and less patient. So I think, you know, during this summer season, I've been hanging out with my niece and nephews, and just, you know, their joy, and my son, and their joy has just been very contagious. They're just so excited about life and new experiences that I'm giving them. And it's just so cute building moments with them. They're all teenagers, 13, 14, 15. So I know, but I enjoy you know, I'm also, you know, like a mentor for them. So I've just been enjoying that. We're going to Vegas for 24 hours. Please, you know, think about me, because I don't know if I'm ready for that, but I'm gonna go solo with them on Wednesday. And so, you know, I'm looking forward to that. I've taken them to nature trails, you know, just wherever we can hang out, you know, in different spaces. But I've also created a space in my home where I can just walk barefoot. I could just exist without my phone and feel safe to do that. I grew up in a hoarder home, so that's like really important for me to just kind of live, you know, a lot more minimalistic and intentional with my space. And so that's been also very healing for me in different moments of where chaos is happening just outside of my home. I live in North Hollywood. So for me, that's kind of what's been keeping me balanced, besides my daily naps and watching novelas on and off. So I'm a big novelera, and that rejuvenates me, just that junk TV that takes me out of what's happening for a moment. I also want to say that, because folks are overstimulated with the medical system and the process, as Tataji was saying, I definitely know that. And we did open up a line. It's the 818-239 number. I can't remember the last four, but that one is where folks can call in and ask, you know, hey, I have this insurance. Can you help me find a therapist for me? And so I ask all the questions, and then I just text them, or I give them the number to the provider that they're searching for. So among all of these ICE raids, how, you know, their family members getting deported, we helped a lot of the Camarillo families get connected to services, mostly for the children, and many señoras actually were calling. So I just wanted to point that out, that's a resource that we provide as well.
And we'll drop all these resources on our website as well. Tataji?
Almost finished. I want to give you 4 tips for everybody. Every time that you have issues when your family, when the community, when the world, and you think everything is out of proportion, get some tobacco, start doing some tobacco ties. There are 2 ways to pray: Western way and traditional way. Normally, we get together in a safe place. We put together four different colors, and we get the tobacco. We put some sage and everything, and we do prayers. Every time that you get the tobacco, when that color, you are praying two different directions. So you finish when you pray. How many of you guys wake up before sunrise and you do sunrise ceremony? A ver. Only few. What happened? What, you guys están dormidos o qué onda? Yeah, están dormidos. So every day when you have opportunity and you have issues dealing with the male energy, get up there in the morning before Abuelo Sol, Tata Keri, show up and talk to him. That's the male energy who want to help you understanding how to balance your issues that you have with males. In the morning, pray to Tata Sol. Turn around and face the west. Most of us, we are afraid on night or dark. Dark, you need to talk to the moon. You need to talk to that direction. Face the south. That's the direction of our ancestors. They are coming from the south. Most of them, we are right here. They have some good vibes, good energies. Turn around to the north. That's the spirit part. Each of us, we have ancestors who they already cross over. Those ancestors, when you get up and you start seeing the stars, that's our ancestors shining. Let us know, hey, aquí te estoy protegiendo, no tengas miedo. But we are so Western way acomodados que we forgot about all those beautiful things. And that's where we need to take those fears. Quitémonos el miedo para que podamos vivir feliz. Así de simple es la vida. Oh.
Thank you all for that. I'm going to take some of those tips with me as well. And before we close, I do want to turn it to Adriana. We talked a little bit about some practices and some grounding work. And so Adriana, can you close us out with a butterfly hug?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, everybody. So I know we have folks online, 119 of you, and then folks here. This exercise does require your hands, but you're welcome to use anything that feels comfortable for you. First, I'm going to say the instructions, and then we'll go ahead and do the technique together. You're welcome to mirror the with the instructions. So what we're going to go ahead and do is just get yourself in a comfortable position. We've been carrying a lot of energy from this conversation. We went through a lot of topics, so just acknowledge whatever your body is feeling in the moment. No judgment, just noticing, and allow yourself to cleanse it maybe with a few breaths. So slow your breath down in whatever way that feels right for you. And so the butterfly hug uses left and right movement for you to connect with your body, for you to just kind of slow down, get grounded in the moment. And so the instructions are, you're going to cross your hands or your arms rather, and you're going to place them anywhere in your body where it feels comfortable, soothing for you. You can put it on your clavicle, on your upper shoulders, on the outer part of your arms, wherever, on your elbows. I don't have sensations really anywhere like on my shoulders, but I do over here. That feels nurturing. That feels good for me. And then simply, you're going to lower your eye gaze or close your eyes, and you're going to tap one hand at a time. Tap, 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 tap. Okay, those are the instructions. So now we're actually going to do it together. So you're in your comfortable position. Release your breath. And close your eyes or lower your eye gaze and begin. Tap, 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 tap. Just continue. Breathe. If you notice your hands going a little bit too fast, just slow them down. That's maybe anxiety or your to-do list. Just slow it down. Tap, 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 tap. Breathe in through your nose. Hold it. And exhale from the mouth. Give yourself a little rub, a little hug, and you can slowly open your eyes and get oriented back to your space where you're at. Looking around you, noticing the colors. Maybe focusing on a color that feels soothing or right for you. And that's the butterfly hug. On our YouTube channel, we do have a playlist right now in Spanish of different techniques of various Latinx therapists engaging in different exercises.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you. That was beautiful. I wanted to thank all of our panelists, our viewers at home and here in person for letting us take some time and have this conversation. I want to remind everybody that we have immigration coverage, resources, tips on our website at boyleheightsbeat.com. You can also follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our newsletter, and we also have all of the resources that our panelists mentioned if you scan the QR code behind me, and we'll have them on our website as well. One more, and we will have them here in person on a flyer that you can take home as well. So thank you once again. I'm gonna just have Michelle close it out.
Thank you. Jessica thanked our panel, so let's thank Jessica. I also really want to thank the California Endowment, our partners at NBC Telemundo who have been sharing resources and information throughout the day. Lizette, thank you for that. Our media partners, LA Taco, Calo, the Latino Media Collaborative, thank you. Thank you so much for a rich conversation. We learned that we need to disconnect to connect, that we need to listen to our bodies and our moods, that we need to engage with children and young people and normalize asking how we feel, that conversations can be healing, that being in community is healing, and that we need to find our joy. It was certainly a joy to be here with you. Please continue to look for resources, follow the Boyle Heights Beat on Instagram, subscribe to our newsletter, and just know that we are a nonprofit newsroom that is directed by what the community wants. So if you have the ability to donate, please donate, or tell your friends to donate and support the Boyle Heights Beat and the work of the LA Local News Initiative. Thank you so much.